The Turbo and 2K Show.
What is up, everybody? Yes, it is that time of the week again. It is podcast time, and man, oh man, do we have a bunch of stuff to talk about. So I hope you have a really comfy seat, a very tall drink, because man, oh man, yes, you are in for it tonight. And as you can see, 2Ks is still trying to hide from deers. So hopefully we will have him back next week. But I do want to say thank you for joining, everyone. We are live here on YouTube, also on Twitter, and also on Facebook. But for the best experience, I would highly suggest going to YouTube. And while we're there, or while you're there, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like, hit out there, and then drop a comment, and let's get a conversation started. And also with YouTube, if you do hit the subscribe button or the like button, you get some nice little animations. So why the heck not? Are you not over there? But for those of you that are over on on Facebook, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. If you guys and gals want to get in on the Facebook group, it is facebook.com/group/2K-crew. This is probably the most up to date as far as news is concerned when it does come to any. I always tell folks, I get a Facebook notification from the 2K Crew group before I even get the notification on my ESPN app. So guys and gals are over there, are locked and loaded, and we are on our way to 1,000 group members. And ironically enough, we don't even have 300 YouTube subscribers. So if you're in the group, join or subscribe to the podcast. Go to YouTube, subscribe. But for those of you that are on the audio side, are silent observers, thank you for putting us on and enjoying your run, your drive, whatever you're doing while you need to be entertained. So we do appreciate each and every one of you. And let's get on to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get on to the show here. Talk about some news really quick before we jump into probably why most of you are here. So yeah, let's talk about some news here. Let's do some little spring cleaning here. Yes, Brandon, it is working. Thank you. Shout out to Johnny's Market right here. Big shout out. And B52, shout out to Johnny's Market. Or B82, sorry. So yeah, big shout out. But there's been kind of the news cycle, let's say, has been predominantly driven by our second topic here. So trying to get some news outside of that has been kind of tough, but we did have a surprise hiring. Craig Counsell is hired by the Cubs, ladies and gentlemen. And for those of you, this is not a Cubs hat. Or it's a South Bend Cubs hat. It's not a Chicago Cubs hat. But the kind of a shocker throughout, I'm pretty sure, the sports community. But for those of you that are Cubs fans, this came from nowhere. I mean, And then add on top of that the size of the contract. Woo, buddy. Mr. Council is making some coin over there in Chicago. But yeah, it kind of leaves a weird feeling like with David Ross. He was the, he was passed the torch after the World Series. And if you think about it now, I'm pretty sure everyone from that World Series team, with the exception of Ian Happ, is now gone. So it's kind of a clean slate. So I think personally this would be the kind of make or break type of deal. And the Cubs said, you know what? We're not even worried about that. We're moving on right now. So yeah, kind of a shocking move coming out of Chicago. So yeah, that was rather odd. And then there were some other some managerial hirings or promotions, I guess, in the MLB. So I think we're going to start getting the hot stove stoked, and we might see. I'm hoping to see some trades, see some free agency moves. I think pretty much every baseball fan is just a tither with anticipation with that. So hopefully sooner rather than later. Some other news that I wanted to touch on is, will someone please explain to me the in-season NBA tournament? Like, I honestly don't get it. Are these regular season games? Do they count towards anything? No, I have not. I've put zero effort into trying to find an answer to this, but if you guys can help a brother out, just let me know. And is this like a round robin? I mean, how does it work? All I know is that 99% of the redone floors in the NBA are absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Make it so hard to watch, as if the NBA wasn't hard to watch already. But now we have to worry about these weird, bold colored floors. I'm not about it. But yeah, so let's get on to the... there really wasn't a good transition between NBA floors and what happened on Saturday. So we'll just rip the whole thing off here and let's get going. Because I guarantee, this was the title, was the thumbnail. And so let's kind of do a quick timeline recap style thing here before I give you my opinion. If you watch last week, there really hasn't been a whole lot changed in my opinion. But I guarantee there are some folks that really do want to hear it. So here you go. Timeline. So we saw Harbaugh and the team leave and go to Penn State. Harbaugh traveled with the team because let's back it up a little further here. It was rumored that Michigan had until Wednesday to respond to the Big Ten's letter, which they did, and then they said that they were going to come out with a possible discipline on Thursday. Well, that got pushed back to Friday. Now, if you work in any sort of government job, you know that you had Friday off because Veterans Day was yesterday. So I'm pretty sure that this timeline was done on purpose. I mean, let's call a spade here, folks. I mean, it doesn't take a genius or a conspiracy theorist to kind of see that, yeah, okay. The Big Ten did this on purpose. They did it intentionally to make sure that the potential restraining order that Michigan and Jim Harbaugh could try to get put in place wouldn't happen before game time. And that ended up being the case. Harbaugh went with the team to Happy Valley, and I believe it was an hour before game time. I saw on my Twitter that yes, it was. He's being suspended for 3 games, and so that'll take it to the end of the season. So if this holds true, he'll be he was suspended yesterday for Penn State. He will be suspended for Maryland and then Ohio State. But if the team does what everyone thinks they're going to do, he would be back in time for the Big Ten tournament, and then the Big Ten championship, and then the playoffs. So we've kind of seen this, same old story, same old song and dance from the beginning of the season. But what's really weird to me is the fact that the wording that they used. They said that Harbaugh could not coach from the sideline, or could not be on the sideline during these games, but he could coach during the regular part of the week. Okay, I get that. But it's in every report that I read, and if someone out there can correct me, please do, because I'm a little bit confused at that. It specifically says on the sideline. What's stopping him from going up top, head coaching from the box, right next to, obviously I believe it was the offensive coordinator was the acting head coach yesterday. So why not just take his spot up there? Is there something against that? I mean, this whole thing has become absolutely ludicrous. And for those of you that don't know, I'm obviously a Notre Dame fan. I have zero horses in this race. But as just a college football fan, it's like, okay, I get it, yes. And from the Michigan, if you're a Michigan fan, you're of course irate about this, because there was the due process at which most people thought that was going to happen did not. A lot of people thought that this punishment was handed down too early and too hastily, and there really wasn't anything proven. It's even alleged that the Big Ten really wasn't doing their own investigation. They were relying on the NCAA's investigation. And like we talked about last week and in the weeks leading up to this, it's like, okay, we all know that the NCAA takes forever to do any kind of investigation, any sort of punishment being laid down. I mean, hell, there's the NCAA says that they're still investigating the whole cheeseburger incident. So, and that was week 1, 2, and 3. This is week 10, right? Yeah, week 10. And we still haven't heard anything about that. And I used the analogy or the example last week. It's like, okay, how long did it take them to rule on taking Reggie Bush's Heisman away? Which hashtag give Reggie his Heisman back? Yes, totally agree. But this whole thing is just asinine. Unless you show me actual video proof that this dude did this, I don't want to see receipts. I don't want to see receipts from ticketing places. I don't want any of that. I want actual video proof, and then I would move forward with some sort of discipline. But until then, I'm just as upset as every other Michigan fan. This is totally just taking away from the team how good they are, and actually how good of a coach Jim Harbaugh is. Now let's think about that. I think that's the exact purpose of all of this. And I know I'm not breaking any news or coming up with something that's completely off the wall and asinine, but I honestly think this whole thing was started because, yes, there was some sort of evidence that Mr. Stallions did this, and then that entity, whoever it was, ran with it, and it's all I'm not calling it a witch hunt, because I really don't. I think it's more of a smear campaign. I think it's more of let's just drag Jim Harbaugh in Michigan through the mud as much as we can, so that ultimately he just says, you know what, fuck you, I'm gone. I honestly think that's what it is. I honestly do. And I posted something in the 2K Crew group on Facebook the other day, and it said it was a screenshot of from Twitter, and it was just because of all of this, Michigan is thinking about leaving the Big Ten. I honestly think that's a little harsh, but if it does, it does, I guess. But I mean, I really don't, and this brings to mind a whole slew of questions. It's like, okay, you leave the Big Ten. We all know that leaving a conference is not overnight. It takes a couple years to do. So let's say after this year, this is 2023, you're looking at 24, 25 at the earliest to get into any conference. Now, obviously, they're not going to join the Pac-12 because the Pac-12's done. So what does that mean? The SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, I mean, where would they go? Where would they go? And would Michigan be willing to just bypass all the history, all of the rivalries, everything that, all the little brown jugs and everything else that they've won just to do that? And furthermore, if they were, let's say they were in the SEC and these allegations came out, I think they would be handled. I'm not trying to put the commissioner of the SEC on the hot seat here, but I'm not so sure they would have come down with a judgment like this, but it would have been investigated and the whole process would have been done the same way. But to me, it's like, okay, Jim Harbaugh doesn't seem to me like a guy that is just, I mean, look at his track record so far, okay? Up until 2 or 3 years ago, 98% of the entire fan base wanted him fired at least once. Think about that, at least once. While winning 10 plus games every year. What did he do? Stayed. He was ridiculed and made fun of for a lot of his recruiting techniques, I guess you could say. Sleeping over at night, doing dishes. I mean, you name it. We all saw the memes. We all saw everything online. And did that deter him from getting the guys that he wanted? Nope. And if Harbaugh ever does see this or gets a clip of this, here's my advice to you, Jim. Just stay put. Stay put, because why? That would be the biggest suck my dick move I have ever seen in my life. You would gain so much respect from everybody. And I know that Harbaugh doesn't have the ultimate say to leave the Big Ten, but he does have a say if he ends his contract and goes, everyone's saying he's going to the NFL, which, Jim, if you don't like the big dick thing, come to Chicago. We'd love you. But that to me doesn't seem like, just, quote unquote running away, which I've seen on Twitter a million times. I really don't think it's his jam. I really don't. And I think that if he were to leave, or ultimately the university pulls out of the Big Ten, to me, and this is just my opinion, it seems like you're admitting more guilt than if you were to stand pat, stand your ground, and then be found guilty. Then by all means. I mean, if it's something that you're adamant about, passionate about, and know you're in the right, go down with the ship. Go down with guns blazing. And there wouldn't be a single person on earth that would be like, you know what? I really don't agree. You should have just got out of here while you could. Should have got out of here while you could. Because and if there are people that think that way, then I really don't know what to tell you, because to me that would be the most badass thing to do. Here, hold my beer and watch me go piss off all of these people. And by all of these people, I mean every Ohio State fan, Iowa fan, Michigan State fan, every Big Ten fan that is not a Michigan fan. Jim Harbaugh would be like, the whole Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not leaving. That's what I would do. Amid all of this. I really don't care. I really don't care. And I have, people have told me that that's just a sign of arrogance. But you know what? There's a fine line between arrogance and knowing that you're right. There's a fine line to ride there. But you know what? I would ride that line until the wheels fall off. If in fact I knew in my heart of hearts that I was right. That just kind of that seems to be that's what's inside me. Now, I'm really interested to see tomorrow, after all, the courts and everything reopen after the Veterans Day break. I'm really curious to see if obviously this restraining order is going to be put in place. What then does the Big Ten do? I'm definitely not a lawyer. Don't play one on TV. Did not sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, so I have no idea what the next step is. I didn't even know you could get a restraining order to prevent something like this. So I think ultimately we're kind of all getting a little legalese education, so that's cool. But here's one part of it that I wanted to bring up that I don't think a lot of people have thought about. Shout out Johnny's for this refreshing beverage, so hold on. And I kind of mentioned it. I don't know if it was on one of the shows, but I have mentioned it either on Twitter or online. It's like, okay, regardless of what happens to Harbaugh, the university, what conference they're playing in, doesn't matter. But if it is proven that Connor Stallions did do this, and there's some sort of video evidence, the University of Michigan is going to be in a whole shitstorm trouble with the sports books. Yes, I said it. We're talking big trouble, because this is, it's ultimately, it's not fixing a game. You're not losing it on purpose, but you are gaining an unfair advantage. And I would have to think that in some sort of bylaws or contracts that these gaming sites or apps or casinos at large, you enter into an agreement with a league, and ultimately these sports betting places could sue the NCAA and the University of Michigan. So I have a feeling that this is going to be a story. It's going to be a topic that is going to be around for a whole lot longer than I guarantee both you and I really care to have it out there. Obviously, Connor Stallions, probably his last resort as any sort of job in any kind of sports is going to be with Dave Portnoy in Barstool. So I hope he does take him up on that, because if he's trying to get anywhere else in sports, nada. No one's going to touch him. Excuse me. But I am, as much as I'm irritated about this and tired of talking about it and tired of everyone else talking about it, I just get to be at peace with it and something new comes out. It's like, okay, why, run through the whole gamut of emotions here. And like I said, this is coming from someone that is not a Michigan fan, so I cannot imagine as a Michigan fan what y'all are going through. This has to be just chaos. So my heart goes out to you, because every single Michigan fan that I know is die hard, lives and breathes and dies with that team. So I couldn't imagine the emotional ups and downs that you guys and gals are going through, because my dear Lord, yes, that would be insane. That would absolutely be insane. So yeah, just kind of keep that sports book thing tucked back here, because like I said, a lot of folks aren't mentioning it. I think it's going to be an afterthought because obviously they're kind of the new kid in town. They're the new kids on the block, and they have to set a precedent that none of this type of behavior, type of situations should ever happen again. But they're gonna wait. They're gonna wait for the right time. You just watch. So whatever the Big Ten continues to do, whatever the headphones are caught in my chair. Whatever the Big Ten does, the NCAA does. Once that's all, cleared, the fire is out. That's when the sports books are going to come and be like, hello. Yes, we would like some money, please. And I have a feeling that there's no matter of lawsuit that Harbaugh and or the Big Ten or Michigan could bring to the Big Ten or even the NCAA will amount to the size or encompassing just encompassing factor that the sports books are going to bring to, like I said, either or both the NCAA or the Big Ten. So that's kind of what I'm keeping my eye on. Now, as far as the game was concerned yesterday, what a hell of a game. Hell of a game, Michigan. That was a very well fought and very odd game. Penn State's quarterback is terrible. Penn State's quarterback is absolutely terrible. I understand he's 19 years old. They said that. Gus Johnson said that just about as many times as he called Marvin Harrison Jr. Maserati Marv, which I couldn't stand. But yeah, he kept reminding us that old buddy was 19 years old. Many times over. And I honestly think a lot of his performance or lack thereof had a lot to do with Michigan's defense. So I'm not trying to take anything away from y'all. It's just like, okay, at some point, something's got to give. Something's got to give. But it didn't. And kind of the weird thing that stood out to me the most, I mean, granted it worked, but Michigan did not throw a single pass in the second half. I think McCarthy had, 90 yards passing, 70 yards passing, something like that. He actually had less than the Penn State quarterback did. Now you go complete 360 to the end of the night, watching USC and USC and Oregon, sorry. Those two quarterbacks each had more passing yards, I believe, in the first quarter, if not the first half, than both of those guys combined throughout the whole game. So you talk about two very different offensive approaches. Which, by the way, that Oregon USC game, very good, very good. If you're a defensive-minded dude or gal, you much rather you had a better time watching the Michigan game than you did that game. But I was thinking about it after the Michigan game. It's like, okay, is kind of, and JJ was kind of like a dark horse Heisman candidate. He really wasn't. I mean, even he's probably number 4, number 3, somewhere in there. But to put up and I'm not saying that the coaching staff calls plays just to get guys stats, but when's the last time Michigan had a quarterback that was in the Heisman race? Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But at the end, and the most important part, a win's a win against the best opponent they have faced all season. And my hope of hopes is that, and I'm speaking like a Michigan fan, I guess you could say. Now, my hope of hopes is that they go into Maryland, take care of business, so we see 2 undefeated teams like we did, that I think all of us were kind of hoping that we would get. And just see, I'm pumped to watch that game. I'm pumped to watch that game. So Michigan, do not screw up next Saturday. Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. I want to see two undefeated teams going at it for the Big Ten East, the East, which, again, that'll be done next year. Thank God, because whoever wins that game, I believe, is going to go up against Iowa, who talk about a hard game to watch. Iowa's a very hard team to watch. So I guess you could say that, you're going to get one of the best offenses in the Big Ten going up against the best defense in the Big Ten. I don't know. It would have been really cool if Cade McNamara was still healthy and they actually were putting up points to see him, potentially going up against his former team. That would have been awesome. But we're left with potentially watching a defense that outscores its offense on a regular basis. So, but enough about that, 2K crew. Let's talk some NFL. Man, it's been a wild week so far. For those of you that are watching this, and the Jets and the Raiders, Jets are up 3-0. Jets are up 3-0. And it's the 5 minutes, it's 10 minutes to go in the first quarter, so it's not like I really wouldn't expect either one of these teams to put up, huge numbers. The Jets defense is very good. So the Raiders are, even though they had that awesome win last week with McDaniels being fired and kind of that whole come together moment. I'm not saying this is their real test, but it definitely is as far as the defense is concerned. But week 10 got started off, or week 11, I'm sorry. Is it week 10 or week 11? It is week 10. Week 10 got started off in Germany, Colts and Patriots. Man, what a shitty game that was. Colts come away with a win 10-6. We saw Mac Jones exit for the final drive, and Bailey Zappi go in and threw an interception, sealed the game. Not sure how the Colts are 5-5, but we might actually be seriously talking about, and there's rumblings. There's rumblings that the Patriots should move on from Bill Belichick. I really don't agree with that. But maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. I don't know, but that team stinks. That team is horrible. Probably the first big upset of the day, Texans at the Bengals. CJ Stroud and the Texans, 30-27. The Bengals started off slow like they always do, and then Burrow gets healthy, and you kind of see this offense just go right into fifth gear and all running on all cylinders. Bam! Here we go. And Jamar Chase was a go for this game. So I believe T. Higgins was not. But let's check the box score on this real quick, because we're seeing something here, folks, that CJ Stroud goes 23 of 39, 356 yards, a touchdown, and I believe his second interception of the year. Joey B goes 27 of 40, 347, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And out of all of this, CJ Stroud was sacked once. Doesn't hurt that Devin Singletary, the running back, has 30 carries, 150 yards, and a touchdown. CJ Stroud also had a rushing touchdown. Noah Brown, 7 catches, 172 yards. Tank gets in the end zone again. But Jamar has a Jamar game. 124 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Boyd goes over 100 as well. So there's a lot of offense in this game, not a lot of defense. But CJ Stroud does it again, ladies and gentlemen. This rookie that I have a very good feeling if Carolina could go back and do it over, I think they might be leaning more towards CJ Stroud than they would with their guy, Bryce Young. Bryce Young. And another surprise here, ladies and gentlemen, Saints at Vikings. Vikings get a big win at home. Believe Josh Dobbs is now 2-0 with the Vikings. He goes 23 of 34, 268 yards and a touchdown. Also has 8 carries, 44 yards and a touchdown. And Jameis Winston has to come in and kind of save the day here, because early on this game was dominated by the Vikings. And Derek Carr goes out with a concussion/shoulder thing. And like I said, this offense really wasn't going anywhere. Before Carr went out, Chris Olave had one catch. He ends up with 6 catches, 94 yards, and a touchdown. Jameis did Jameis. I mean, if you remember him with Tampa Bay, he was back in the day of daily fantasy. He was always the guy you want to take, because he's going to throw 4 touchdowns and probably 3 interceptions. So his passing numbers are always going to be really, really good. But you got to take a couple knocks because of 2 or 3 picks every single game. You can kind of just slate that in. But yeah, he goes 13 to 25, a $122, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. But like I said, that was coming into kind of an already almost out of hand situation. So kudos to Josh Dobbs. TJ Hawkinson has a career day, 11 catches, 134 yards and a touchdown. So all in all, a very, very good game for the Vikings. Don't look now, but this Vikings team, and remember, this Vikings team's doing all of this without Justin Jefferson, which hopefully will be back next week. But yeah, that Viking team is on a roll, and I don't think they could have picked a better guy to kind of pick up where Kirk left off with the Achilles. So good on them, and quite possibly, I mean, Dobbs keeps doing this. Do you sign him to a long-term deal at the end of the year? I mean, be hard not to, right? I mean, it'd just be kind of hard not to. Let's see. Steelers beat the Packers. The Packers stink. Somehow the Steelers are 6-3. Haven't really figured that one out yet. Titans go down to Tampa and get a big loss. Bucks win 20-6. And I kind of wanted to highlight this one, not because of the good play, but because of the rather horrible play. We saw Will Levis in his first two games, I believe. I'm not going to say light it up, but I mean, wow, okay, this guy can play. He is jacked beyond belief, but can the dude play? And up until this game, we've seen him play very, very well. But he goes 19 for 39, 199 yards and an interception. And if you're a Derrick Henry owner in fantasy football, hopefully you didn't play him, because he had 11 carries for 24 yards. 24 yards. Mike Evans has the biggest day out of everyone. 6 catches for 143 yards and a touchdown. Let's see here. Tampa's 4-5. That takes the Titans to 3-6. I do still think that Will Levis is a rookie. We all have to remember that he's a rookie. He's going to go through this, but it would in 20-6. It's not like the score was completely out of hand where you got to take Derrick Henry completely out of that game. But it's just weird to me that, if you are a rookie quarterback and you go into that situation, you got one of the best, most durable. Here, take it, go, kind of guys in the NFL, and it's like, all right, and a decent offensive line. Yes, you could argue that the wide receivers really aren't there. But I honestly think Levis is going to be a good option for the Titans moving forward. Another shocker here, 49ers Jags. 49ers win 34-3. 34-3, which means if you had any of the Jaguars on your fantasy squad, you're probably not doing so hot. Probably not doing so hot. And we kind of saw the first glimpse of Chase Young as a 49er, him and Bosa bookending that defensive line back in the Ohio State days. Man, and this Jags team is a very good team. And the 49ers coming off 3 straight losses. I mean, this is insane at this point. To come back and granted, really no team in the NFL is a cakewalk, but man, to go down to Duval County, down to Jacksonville to basically shut them out. They gave up 3 points in the second quarter, but other than that, 0-0-0. But a badass bounce back game from Brock Purdy, 19-26, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey, 16 carries, 95 yards. Kittle has a huge monster day, 3 catches, 116 yards, and a touchdown. The one really ringing thing here is that this game ended the consecutive touchdown streak by Mr. McCaffrey. Christian Kirk has 104 yards and 6 catches, and that's about it as far as Trevor Lawrence throws 2 interceptions, which is unlike him. All right. Browns and Ravens. Browns win that one in Baltimore, 33-31. Let's see here. Check the box. Lamar kind of has an off day, 13-23, 223 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. He has 8 carries for 41 yards. Gus Edwards continues to find the end zone. Let's see here. Mark Andrews only had 2 catches for 44 yards. Amari Cooper on the other side, 6 catches for 98 yards. Kareem Hunt got the only rushing touchdown. With 10 carries, 32 yards. Jerome Ford leads the way, 17 carries, 107 yards. So yeah, this was we saw a lot of last second, off the foot, game-winning field goals today. So yeah, a lot of these games were really, really close, which I always enjoy. Cardinals and the Falcons. We saw Kyler Murray for the first time this year, and looks to be kind of the Kyler Murray of old. I mean, Arizona wins this one again, comeback fashion, 25-23. He goes 19-32, 249 yards, no touchdown passes, but a pick. But he does get in the end zone. He has 6 carries, 33 yards, and a rushing touchdown. And we did see the tush push or brotherly shove executed without Kyler Murray. They were pushing on someone else's tush to get that. But Taylor Heineke started this game in place of Desmond Ridder. Heineke ended up getting hurt, so Ridder comes back in. But I think the one telling sign here, 2K crew, is Bijan Robinson. We have a Bijan Robinson sighting for the first time in a couple weeks. 22 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Ridder also gets in the end zone with his legs. And Drake London led the way for Atlanta. 3 catches, 36 yards. Yeah, combined, there were 94 receiving yards for the Falcons. But on the flip side, Trey McBride for the Cardinals, 8 catches, 131 yards. So it was good to see Kyler back out there doing his thing, being Kyler. So I obviously haven't taken a look at the Cardinals' schedule moving forward, but I have a feeling that the the 2-8 record will bounce back rather nicely with Kyler at the helm. We're really not going to talk about the Giants and the Cowboys because the Giants are terrible. The Cowboys get a big win, 49-17. Seahawks Commanders, another game that was very close, 29-26 Seahawks. But the one I really want to jump into is the Detroit Lions, the brand new Lions, go into LA and snatch one. Snatch one from Justin Herbert and the Bolts. Excuse me. Golf goes 20. They end up winning on a game-winning field goal, 41-38. This game again was one that looked to be that the Lions were going to put this completely out of reach early. Excuse me. I believe the Lions had like 170 some over 100 yards rushing in the first half. I believe it was over 170 because Montgomery had over 100 yards in the first half himself. Sorry about that. Jahmyr Gibbs and the one run for Murray was a 75-yard touchdown run, which was awesome. But Goff goes 23 of 33, 333 yards, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Montgomery, like I said, over 100 yards with 116 and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, 14 carries, 77 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Amon-Ra St. Brown has a huge day, 8 catches, 156 yards, and a touchdown, only to be outdone by Keenan Allen, the ageless wonder, 11 catches, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, and did go off because of I believe it was a shoulder or something late in that game. So definitely could have had some more meat on the bone there for sure. But Herbert goes 27 of 40, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Eckler does have a rushing touchdown. But yeah, this was, and I hate to keep bringing it up, but it just seems like if this was the old Lions, they would have found a way to lose this game. But they found a way to win it, and it kind of had that feeling like, okay, maybe they took their foot off the gas after halftime, and Dan Campbell was interviewed at halftime saying the third quarter is the key quarter because we always come out of the gate kind of slow. So he was very interested to see how they would respond after halftime, and it did seem like it was okay because they were up 24-17, and third quarter both teams score a touchdown. Fourth quarter, Lions score a touchdown, and like I said, the winning field goal, and the Chargers put up 2 touchdowns. And it seemed like every single time Herbert went down and got that team in the end zone, Jared Goff is like, boys, don't worry. I got us. Don't worry. There's a different moxie. There's a different attitude. There's a different swagger with this team, and I absolutely love it. And it starts at the top with MCDC, and it just pours all over this team. I absolutely love watching this team, and if you're a Lions fan, you have to be absolutely stoked and excited and watching every game. You guys would watch every game intently and enthusiastically when this team was bad. I can only imagine what you guys and gals are like now that the team is good. I mean, hell, it's got to feel awesome. It has got to feel awesome. And as a Bears fan, I'm still waiting for that kind of chance to feel awesome. But yeah, this was a team that was historically just a joke. Not no more. The only joke is if people do decide to kind of, this team isn't for real. This team isn't for real. They're gonna find a way to be the old Lions. Nope, sorry about it. Not gonna happen. Not while. It took them quite a while to find the coach that brought the Detroit kind of mantra to the team. and they haven't. Lions fans, if you remember, midway through the season last year, there were a lot of people that are like, fire MCDC, get him the hell out of town. We don't need him. I bet you're glad you had a little bit of patience. A little bit of patience. And Lions fans, remember, through the first half of last year, that defense was historically bad. Historically bad. And yes, they give up 38 points to the Chargers, but the Chargers they have a very good offense. Very good offense. And we've seen Bosa and Khalil Mack just kind of wreck house on the defense. So to be able to put up 41 points, that's awesome. And especially on the West Coast. Defense in a running game will travel, ladies and gentlemen. Will travel. So yeah, I guess you could say I'm officially done with the Bears, even though they won Thursday. They played a terrible Panthers team. That game was so hard to watch. But yeah, I'm done with the Bears. Move over. I'm jumping on the Lions bandwagon. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here. Someone out there, clip that. Send it to me. I'm jumping off the Bears bandwagon, jumping on the MCDC train. I'm doing it. Well, all right, we kind of recapped all the games. I'll give you my pick for tomorrow night's game. Broncos at Bills. 3-5 Broncos, 5-4 Bills. Buffalo is a -7 favorite. Over under 47.5. This is one that Broncos defense, even though the last not including this year, the last couple years, that's been what has kept them in games. If you remember last year, if they would have scored over 18 points, they would have had a winning record. That's not the case anymore. This Bills offense is good. This Bills defense is good. Bills defense banged up. But man, this is... You know what? Give me the Broncos and the points, but I think the Bills win. But I don't think they cover. And before we head out of here, 2K crew, I'd like to take a second to the schedule maker. Why in the hell would you leave us with Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, and Eagles on the same bye week? What is that all about? Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, Eagles. 3 of the best teams in the league. Same bye week. Give us a little more entertainment. Granted, they must know something because there was a lot of entertainment today. A lot of last minute wins. But come on. Can't have that. You can't have those teams all on the same bye week. That's just ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. All right. I think I've talked enough here, 2K crew. Everyone have a great week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, 2Ks will be joining us here in the new studio next week. So give him a big shout out and be like, hey, shoot a deer finally. Shoot a deer. Stop hiding from him. Shoot one. 2K crew, I'll get you out of here on that. Everyone have a fantastic week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.